So it's a little bit chilly, but we're out here on our land. Just want to take a second to show you the container, and that was super exciting just for us to have our first container, set on the property. We're going to use it for storage, like I mentioned, but unfortunately it came with some complications that we did not anticipate. The road, when we built it, we didn't build it completely up to what it should have been. Usually with, driveways and whatnot, you want to have a 7-inch road base. We built it up, or not we, Kevin, and our family, we built it up to about 4 inches. And the reason for that is because heavier trucks will sink. And so unfortunately what happened, because it is spring and things have started to thaw, it is muddy out here. And so towards the end of our road, it, as you can see, it sunk. And so the driver had to do what they had to get their truck out of here. But unfortunately, that leaves us with a little bit of a mess. We're not upset with the road. I mean, we are a little bit upset, obviously, because there was a lot of work that now has to be done to repair the road. But, we're not going to sit here and kind of get mad at the truck driver who did what they had to do to get their truck out. So as you can see, there's a little bit of work that we now have to do to repair. And we're going to have to do that prior to, like we mentioned before, we have family who shares the other 40 acres that we're sitting on. And so, or the 40 acres next to us. And so in order for construction trucks to get in here, we need to make sure that this road will survive the back and forth of very heavy machinery. And so prior to that project later this year, we're going to have to come back in, beef up the road a little bit, make sure that there are proper drainage and things like that for the water not to erode away the driveway, if you will. And so that's going to require V-titches. That was always the plan, but because we didn't have enough time to do it last time, it went undone. And it's just kind of one of those things that you live and learn. And we're just going to make it better, smooth it out, and hopefully that will be good enough for when construction starts on our family's construction build here. So that'll be to come, but that's just kind of one of the surprises, I guess, that you get when we came here. What do you think of our new house, husband?
I love it.
Maybe our new living room, or
A couple more windows.
just a few more windows. Something I'll also add is that with the road, the way it is, this is only a small portion of it, which is why, and it's also where the thinner part of the road base was. This is towards the end of the project. And so the front part of the driveway did well. And so it's just a small portion in the back that we knew didn't have as much 3-inch minus as the front part. The other thing is that this is kind of one of those situations where we're really glad that we put down the road fabric, because otherwise this would have been much worse. This would have, with the weight of the truck that came in here, we don't think they would have made it as far as they did onto the driveway. So it's kind of one of those things. The driveway fabric did what it was supposed to, which is to not allow the gravel to sink into the ground. But of course, it has its weight limits, and that's why when you do construction, you do it properly so that things like this don't happen and you don't have to do it twice. Okay, so I'm here at the home site just checking things out. As I mentioned before, we got our transformer. Electrical is in. They trenched 2 for this home site and our families. That's on the other 40 acres. Just to kind of show you, to give you a reference of where the container is right now. If you can see it, it's all the way over there. And so it's quite a trek, but it is a much easier trek than during the winter. And see, now it's sunny. The wind, the weather right now is a little bit weird. But it was a little bit of a trek, but that's the better placement for now. while our family's construction kind of gets underway. That's a better placement, and obviously it will eventually be moved. But here on the house site, we've got our electrical panel, which is great. We ended up deciding to put this next to the workshop instead of the house, just for maintenance and access and things like that. We just felt like it would be better by the workshop, and then the house will be just a little bit over off to the left. Down the road, some of these things we've been discussing is the need to get rid of all of these. If you look, it kind of looks like brush and whatnot. We have lovingly nicknamed it Idaho weeds. Actually, someone gave that to us, but it has stuck, and we call them Idaho weeds. They are quite big and thick, and actually are very difficult to get into the tree area. And so we're going to eventually have to get rid of a lot of that, and it's part of our maintenance, our forest maintenance plan, I think it's called, for our area. And so to thin that out, because that can be, I think, a bit of a fire hazard. Also down the line, some of the things that we've been discussing is where we're putting the fence. By the way, that's one of our projects, hopefully, along this kind of area. That's another property over there, so that's why we're putting a fence here, is to put trees along, nice big trees, and that's for the windbreak, because there is quite a bit of wind that comes off from the mountains that are kind of further back. And so right here at the top of the hill, there's a lot of wind. And so we want to kind of try to see if we can make a break there on the property line as well. So those are kind of some of the future projects that we have going. But obviously for a different day, different time. We're here at the end of our trip. I think it's been a pretty successful trip, even though it ended up doing very different things than what we expected. Like we showed, we were able to get our container. We were able to empty out our storage.
Mount the camera.
We mounted a camera so that we can kind of have a view of the land. We put in some fence posts along, T-posts along the perimeter of the land. And then we're kind of ending today on our way to the airport by, doing some errands. And among the conversations this weekend and talking about timelines and things that we need to do and things that we need, we ended up going to a Kubota dealership and pulling the trigger on a tractor and
two pieces of equipment.
Right, two pieces of equipment, a tractor and a side-by-side. We with our family, obviously different timelines. We're needing to have a piece of equipment up here for when they come in on and to live here on a permanent basis by the end of the year. So we needed to get that equipment up here so that they can, make it through the fall and the winter.
Well, and also we also have to deal with the fact that there's still huge delays in
productions of the equipment.
Yeah, like we have our tractor. We ordered our tractor. We ended up ordering an M4 071, which is a 71 horsepower utility tractor. We ordered that from Kubota. And then we also ordered a side-by-side. I think it's an RX 1100.
Right, and we kind of just went in there with the idea of just asking questions about like how long it'll take, and the salesperson was like, that could take up to a year, and we're like,
yeah. So
what?
There was an example. We were here on Friday at the beginning of our trip, and he said this particular organization ordered a UTV in October of last year, and they just got it literally last week.
Right.
So he's anticipating that the UTV will not be here till sometime next year.
Right, unless things drastically change, yeah, which is definitely possible. But the timeline we were given was a year. And so, we have 80 acres, probably 30 or 40 acres that are, hayfield and clear. And obviously we do have timbered land, so it's kind of hard to walk, and a little bit of rolling hills. So it is something that we do want to do. And then, eventually we're going to probably have some animals and things on our land. And so just in general, it's good to have. And so we're very excited. It was a huge purchase, a little bit unexpected, I think. But it's good. I think a good weekend all in all. We did a lot of good accomplish a lot of things, things that we're thinking about in the future. And again, the process always changes. I think every time we go up here, we have an idea of what we're going to do, and then we start talking about timelines and things that we need to do, and we look at different things, and things change. So our driveway, as we showed you before, it got a little bit messed up. Again, you know, the truck driver had to do what he had to do, but it did get messed up, so we do have to fix it. In terms of like cost and time and things like that, we don't have a lot of that, and so we actually were able to find someone who, for about the same cost that it cost us to do it ourselves, is willing to fix the driveway, finish pouring, or not pouring, finish
so basically he's going to finish our portion of it, because basically we went through the first 40 acres, and then the next 40 acres is going to be my portion, and that's going to involve us having to cut a driveway through into our actual home site.
So we only have like halfway of the driveway, but also building the driveway up from 4-inch road base to a 8-inch road base, so it'll take the load of those heavier construction trucks. And so that's kind of our next next thing.
That's not necessarily true. Our next thing would be electricity.
Yeah. Okay, no, never mind. Electricity before that. And hopefully the well is going to be around this time. So a lot of moving parts. You know, weather puts a lot of restrictions on what can be done. There's load restrictions on the roads, which means that the well guy, he can't come in to with all his equipment to drill the well. Yeah. And so, but the electric, we're just waiting on, you know, money to make that happen, but we're hopefully going to have that happening soon. So a lot of moving pieces, even though we're not actually on the land, we're not actually living here, still a lot of moving parts.
But it's also good for us, of those people that are looking to pull the trigger on buying land and doing this kind of stuff. I know we have an exorbitant amount of land. We don't have 5 acres, where a lot of the stuff we could negate. You know, you wouldn't need a 71 horsepower tractor for 5 acres, right? But think about in the perspective that if you were to buy land, you buy a 5-acre parcel, you're still going to have to, you know, bring electricity to that. You still have to bring sewer. Have to bring water if you're not lucky enough to be on city water or city sewer or electricity that's already there. So those are the things that, and obviously building a driveway, getting a road. So obviously our things are on a much larger scale, because we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of feet opposed to 5-10 feet. But it's still, these are the type of things that we are learning as we go. I think this is something that's been a big learning experience, but it's also been a rewarding experience to see, you know, what we're doing is actually, it's going to help us in the long run when we're up here full time. We're not worrying about all this stuff that we've already taken care of now, that we can just enjoy, you know, the time we have up here. We're not stressing about, okay, what do we need to do next? That stuff's already done. And it makes it a little more comfortable when we're building our home.
Right. And it's one of those things, like, you know what goes into constructing on raw land, but at the same time you don't. And so it's kind of one of those things, like, we had an idea and we knew, and for us, especially because Kevin does have a construction background, so he does know in terms of turning from raw land into like infrastructure, into like a home and things like that. We knew that process, and even for us who have a little bit more background than maybe the average person, it's still a huge learning curve. And also because they have seasons, there's other things that we need to actually be considering, and timelines, and, you know, if you order it now, are you getting it by the right time? So it's been, like he said, a really rewarding experience, but also at times can be a little bit overwhelming, but that's okay. We're navigating it, and we're very lucky and blessed to have supportive family, not only that we're moving with, but, you know, that are at home, who support us, who are helping us with every step of this process. So that's really awesome. So that's kind of been this weekend. Wanted to give you an update, and stick around for the next one.
More to come.
All right, so we're here at the end of our trip. I'm itchy. I look weird. Okay.